2025 taught me a lot about my boundaries. And more importantly, it tested them. Because that's what boundaries do. They test you to see if you really mean what you say. They test your self respect. They test how much access people really have to you. And they reveal who respects you and who respects you only when it's convenient. Boundaries are often silent. They're the invisible lines in the sand that we draw to protect our peace. But the real question is, what happens when that line is crossed? When your boundary is ignored, pushed, or broken?
You've reached the Secret Society's Unfiltered AF hotline. At the tone, please record your message.
Hey, Size! Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered AF. Happy New Year and welcome to 2026. If you are new here, welcome to the Secret Society. If you are returning, welcome back to the Sacred Circle where we heal out loud and in color. As we enter this new year, I've been deeply encouraged and honestly reminded to continue to stand on big boundaries, not performative boundaries, not boundaries that you have to explain 10 times, but the kind you stand on even when it's uncomfortable. I think we all have silent boundaries, and I'm sure that we have some spoken ones too. But one thing I know, if you have boundaries, they will be tested. Not because you don't mean what you say, and not because your boundary isn't valid or big enough. They're tested to see how much self love you actually have and how much self respect you're willing to protect. Because the real test isn't other people crossing the line, it's whether you will cross your own line just to keep the peace, to keep the relationship, or to avoid conflict, to avoid being seen as too much, too sensitive, or too difficult, or too whatever. And that's where it gets real. See, the thing about boundaries is they can cost you deeply. They can cost you relationships, they can cost you access, they can cost you comfort, they can even cost you versions of people you wanted to believe in. So then the real question becomes, what are you willing to pay if the line is crossed? How far will you allow a broken boundary to go? How many times will you explain yourself? How many times will you shrink, bend, or self betray before you choose yourself? Because every time you let a boundary slide, you are teaching people what's acceptable, and more importantly, you're teaching yourself. So let's get clear. What are boundaries really? By definition, a boundary is a limit, like a line that says, "This is where I end." But what does that mean to you? A boundary is not a punishment, it's not control, it's not being cold or heartless. A boundary is information. It says, "This is what I will allow, this is what I don't, this is how I protect my peace, and this is what happens when the line is crossed." And here's the part people don't talk about enough. Boundaries don't require an audience, they don't require approval, and they don't require understanding. What they do require is consistency. Because the loudest boundary is the one that you enforce without having to explain yourself into exhaustion. So, as we move into 2026, ask yourself, where have I been negotiating my boundaries? Where have I been silent when I needed to be firm? And where is it time to stand on something bigger, even if it costs me? Because peace is expensive, and not everyone can afford to have access to you anymore. Standing on big boundaries is not about pushing people away. It's about protecting the version of you that worked too hard to heal. And this year, we're not explaining our limits, we're honoring them. Now, as we say goodbye to 2025, I just want to say thank you. 2025 was the year I finally got the courage to press record, to take myself seriously even when no one else did. And as we reflect on this year, I want to say thank you for being here. Whether you've been here from the beginning or you've just found your way into the circle, we came into the door intentionally with episode 1 and we slowed all the way down. Because my goal with this podcast has always been to heal out loud, but to do so intentionally. The invitation was exactly that, your invitation to the sacred circle. The initiation was your pass to be here. I swallowed my pride and shared a bit of my story in the introduction, and from there, the healing began. We opened our hearts to our shadows, and we befriended our imposter syndrome, and we lovingly called out our procrastination shadow as well. We traveled to Tennessee to explore what home really means. We practiced being intentional with our words, how we manifest, and how we speak to others because it's not always what you say, it's how you say it. I got personal, I shared my hair journey, I let myself be seen in ways that felt vulnerable but necessary, and in such a short amount of time, you reminded me to maintain an attitude of gratitude. I am forever grateful for the community that we are building here in the Secret Society. Thank you for loving me. Know that I love you and your healing just the same. Siren family, thank you again. Let's make 2026 the best year yet. We're not starting over, we're not behind. We are standing on what we said we deserve, and we're just getting started. If this episode resonated with you, go ahead and like it, share it with someone who's learning to stand on their boundaries too. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's next, and I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, what boundary are you standing on this year? Until next time, stay intentional, protect your peace, keep healing out loud, be you, be unshakable, and be unfiltered AF.